viewers. Hi, Mr. 411. How are you today?
Doing great, Freedom
Outstanding,
Warrior.
outstanding, outstanding. We want to welcome our viewers, and everyone from around the country and around the world here to the 411 Sports World Network. I am your Freedom Warrior, and I have with me today Mr. 411, who is our producer and also the executive director of the 411 Sports World Network, where you get all your good sports news, all the breaking sports news from some very highly professional analysts. And of course, I'm your Freedom Warrior, and I'm glad to be here tonight on the 411 Sports World Network, bringing you information about events and happenings across the country that affect you, your family, your neighborhoods, communities, your state, and affects our nation. So tonight, Mr. 411, there's a topic that we discussed last night on your show that I would
hmm
like to sort of like rebound to and take a look at again. And it's the issue of gambling in sports. Now, this is your area of expertise, Mr. 411, because the 411 Sports World Network, y'all do in-depth looks into and get perspectives on what's happening in the world of sports. So, Mr. 411, these three guys right here, what I consider the starting lineup for this. And, the word lineup also has a criminal tone to it, too. But in sports, the lineup is who the starters are. And it seems like the FBI has identified these three as the starting lineup for their criminal investigation into what's going on in gambling in the sports world. So, what's your perspective on this, Mr. 411?
Oh man, I mean, well, is first of all, is to me, it's I won't say it's shocking. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
think I've been around the block enough times now to realize that it's not a shock that professional athletes would involve themselves in activities that are that cross the line. Okay, so I'm not shocked, but I am. Um, it is an alarming situation where I believe, like, hey, there's been something unveiled here, and there's a bigger issue that's about to occur. Um, the real thing that really strikes me here is that the gambling aspect of sports,
Mm-hmm.
what's once upon a time was taboo, has been placed out there, front and center,
Yeah.
and making it above board, if you will. And so now that we get into it where it's just everything is, betting, that's the number one reason why people watch sports. You know what I'm saying? It used to be you watch it because you want to support your team or your favorite player.
Mm-hmm.
You're from a certain area, so you want that particular area to win or whatever the case may be. But
Mm-hmm.
really, it's come to a point now where we basically just like we want our money, we want stats, we want certain players to do certain things that particular night. And now that we have that,
Mm-hmm.
there's a underbelly here of where the the bad guys can get involved in many ways now, and it's easier to get involved now, and it's easier for people who are compromised to try and attempt to manipulate things. So now the big issue now is, do you believe what you're watching? You know what I'm saying? I gave an example the other night where you
Mm-hmm.
know I have Bijan Robinson, the Atlanta Falcons starting running back, on one of my fantasy football teams. And he had just had a monster game a couple weeks ago against the Buffalo Bills, who's a Super Bowl contender. And then in the same stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, he lays an egg against one of the worst teams in the league, the Miami Dolphins. One
So
of the
do you think then that was by design that maybe
well,
some
and
people
that's
made money on that event?
well, people did make money off that
Mm-hmm.
because you're gonna bet the over under on his yardage or his touchdowns, receptions. Like there's a lot of different aspects of where people place their money on individual players, and for him to play that bad in that game And to have that fumble that he had, that was
Uh-huh.
very questionable. That goes back into tying and dovetailing into some of this stuff that we're going to talk about with the NBA guys, where it's like, you turn the ball over, you sprain your ankle, you don't play, then that
Mhm.
affects the
Or you
the, the
fake, or you fake
underlying.
an injury, maybe
Yeah,
I'll say, you know,
yeah,
reportedly fake an injury.
yeah.
Yeah.
But again, Bijan Robinson played so bad that they pulled him from the game, and he didn't play in
Mhm.
the last 2 or 3 drives of the game. The backup running back gets the touchdown. There's a lot of people that's
Mhm.
having money on Bijan scoring. Those were
Mhm.
drives in quote unquote garbage time that he could have gotten some, could have accumulated some stats,
Yeah.
but he's on the sideline while the
Mhm.
starter's watching. That's suspicious. You get what I'm
It
saying? During a
is.
regular
I
season
feel you.
game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so now I say now do I just look at it like, hey, oh man, Bijan just had a bad game. Man, he got to bounce back next week.
Mhm.
Or do we
Mhm.
look at it like, did he owe anybody and he had to lay an egg this week? And
Mhm.
that's the kind of thing that we're in now. Uh, this is what this opens up even more now for people to
Yeah,
speculate.
and now the FBI has launched an investigation, a criminal investigation into these side bets that
Yeah,
are occurring, and many of them are coming from the players themselves. Now we know that there's betting out in the public domain through FanDuel and what's this other one, DraftKings, and some of these
DraftKings.
other, yeah, some of
Yeah.
these other sports betting sites. But
Mm-hmm.
when players get involved and they're doing it to advantage themselves and maybe even disadvantage their team, then that's a whole different realm. And
Yes.
now, of course, Mr. Chauncey Billups, and we must also point out that these players have not been charged yet. Okay, they haven't been convicted or anything, but they're suspects. And
Right.
yeah, and they have not yet been charged or convicted of a crime. So all this is under investigation. And of course, I think what the FBI might be doing is looking to see how far this goes and how deep it goes and how wide it is, how widespread it is. Um, so, Mr. Stephen A. Smith, you're familiar with that TV personality?
Absolutely.
Stephen A. Smith, I'm sure you are. Um, Stephen A. Smith made some comments lately, and he was saying that uh, Donald Trump's coming after sports. He's coming after certain players and so forth. And he tried to throw a political curveball into this issue. And I really think that Stephen had to back down a little bit because a lot of times, he's a provocateur. And there are times he says things that he has to backtrack on. And I think going after the president of the United States on this matter was a bridge too far for Mr. Smith. And I think that I don't know. Have you heard him draw back a little bit on the comments he made about the president being involved in this?
Not yet. Not that he pulled. Well, if you want to say technically, he pulled back a little bit because
Mm-hmm.
he kind of rephrased some things. He kind of explained himself again about what he initially said
Mm-hmm.
on his show. Well, on the 4 Letter Network show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when he initially came out and said, "Oh, Trump is coming. Trump is coming. He's coming." You know what I'm saying? Like, and he was
Mm-hmm.
saying that like the big bad wolf is coming now to blow everybody's house in, and you know he had to come back and say what I meant was, and I'm paraphrasing this,
Mm-hmm.
Freedom Warrior, is that I don't mean that he's like literally just coming and chomping at the bits on everybody, but if you are in a pickle, remember he's going to remember all the times that he tried to, for one, buy the Buffalo Bills. And if you go back into the 80s, when he bought the USFL and had that league going, remember that other league that was supposed to
Mm-hmm.
rival the NFL, and the NFL
Yeah.
ended up shutting them down. And by the way, a lot of good players came from that USFL, like Herschel Walker, Steve Young,
Yeah. They did.
some
Yes. Mm-hmm.
some real Hall of Fame type
Yeah.
players that was in that league. Reggie White, I think Reggie
Mm-hmm.
White played there for a minute, but anyway,
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of been quote unquote shut out in some things, and then even like LeBron James, he's called President Trump a bum. Right, he
Mm-hmm.
said that before. So
Mm-hmm.
what he was now really what he was trying to say now is that he's not going to forget all those things when it comes down to, let's just say, if some of these guys end up getting put in a slammer, will Trump come in and pardon or kind of or help out a little bit on that side of the fence? Will he extend his arms that way? That's the angle that he's going with now. But that did,
Yes, that's not
yeah,
what he initially intended in his comments.
no,
In
that's not to me,
mhm,
not to me in
mhm,
his initial attempt. But now he's
right.
coming back, kind of clean it up a little bit, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
he's got to clean up on aisle five here, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, but Stephen has always said things sometimes that are just a little over the line, and he gets into debates and arguments with people. And I think he would do better to stick with sports and also stay out of politics. Okay, I don't think that four-letter network hired him to be a political analyst. They hired him to be a sports analyst. But he does skate a little bit on thin ice when he starts making comments like that because Cash Patel was very incensed by his comments and had to let him know, listen, buddy, you know, we just don't go around busting sports figures. We go after crime. And of course, there are crime families who are a part of this investigation too, as well. And I don't know the names of, I mean, I saw the names of those crime families, and I will not detail them here tonight, but if you're interested, you can look and you can find it.
Yeah, we
And
have videos. We have videos on the Forum Sports World Network, that people can click
mhm,
on and watch. That goes into
mhm.
detail on what's going on here. So they want
Yeah,
to put some detail, they can
they
just go
can.
to the video section.
Yeah, yeah, and also if we look at sports gambling and the poker rigging, now this is the big deal. The poker, they're alleging that Chauncey Billups, the coach for the Portland Trailblazers, was used as the bait to bring in certain players and sit them, have them seated at a poker game wherever these games took place. And these guys were pretty much scammed out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, um, it involved a player and coach members that they rigged these poker games, and they had certain amount of equipment to uh, X-rays and all this kind of stuff, and ultraviolet ray type equipment to look at the cards. Now, if you look at this card example, you see that can't be seen by the naked eye, but it could be seen by. Uh, Help me out here. I think it's an sort of an
Some
ultraviolet type camera
some X-ray
or
glasses.
lens. Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of
X-ray
guys are wearing
lens.
some lens, some shades, if you
Yeah,
will, that
yeah,
could read the cards. Yeah, and you will
right.
see the number kind
Hmm.
of highlighted. You kind of see it a little bit there, but
Yeah,
if we can get the production crew to find another image, we'll show that
right.
as you're rolling through your stuff here.
Hmm. Well, anyway, these guys were set up pretty much. This is what is being alleged. And if I had to say what might come out of this, I'm not certain, but I do believe that this goes a lot deeper and a lot wider. This is just the tip of the iceberg, I believe, because the FBI has been looking into this ever since before Donald Trump came back into power. During the Biden administration, I believe that there was some FBI investigation going on into gambling in sports, and I don't mean for the general public, but for inside gambling within the sports.
Mhm.
And right now, the FBI has picked up the mantle and they're running with it because it's a part of the president's crackdown on crime. You know, and of course, we as sports spectators and supporters of our teams, we want to know that the game is being played honestly and fairly, and not being thrown. Because now that betting is out in the public domain, we want these players to just go out there and do their level best to try and win and not, shave points or throw a game. I mean, that would anger any fan. And I'm sure you, Mr. 411, You have a lot of knowledge about all these statistics and these players, more so than I would ever know, or the average person. And I know that if you place a bet on a game legally, Mr. 411, that you're doing it based off of information that is statistical. Or am I right about that?
No, you're absolutely right
Yeah.
about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we make our decisions that we make. We base it on, situations. We base it on injury reports, right?
Mm-hmm.
We base it on trends. We base it
Mm-hmm.
on, their ability. If
Right.
it's for example, if the over under on an individual player, we'll use LeBron James. He averages roughly 25 points a night, 24 to 25 a night on his average for his career.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's playing a team, let's say a up tempo team, but a bottom dweller team, let's say Washington Wizards,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be a night where you're going to take the over for LeBron because it's saying so because it's like that's what the trend would tell you. You know what I'm saying? And that they
Right.
don't have a defender, they don't have a big man in the paint. They're not
Mm-hmm.
an experienced team. They're just playing the string out for the year. So you're going by all these different trends, and let's go back to the injury part because that's where let's see, Terry Rozier comes into play where he
Mm-hmm.
allegedly uh, informed people that he was going to be injured
Mm-hmm.
and end up coming out of a game, and he's giving out that information that the league didn't release. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
that's like insider trading, if you will. So those are the things that we use. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. Let's take a little leap over here to the National Football League for a minute.
Sure.
Um, there's a lot of controversy right now about the upcoming halftime show for this season's Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and and Roger Goodell is standing his ground. I mean, he's dying on this hill of bringing in this guy named Bad Bunny. Now, I'm not that familiar with Bad Bunny, but I've been asking some people who are, involved in contemporary music now about this person,
Yeah.
Bad Bunny. What do you know about Bad Bunny?
Well, I know that he is he is followed by millions and millions and millions, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he is a very popular music artist. I think he's more into the Latin, whatever Latin rap,
Mm-hmm.
whatever genre of music that is, but he is a rap pop. It's kind of like whatever that is, right? But he's
Mm-hmm.
known worldwide. He is popular, as I don't know what.
Uh-huh.
And so that's where I believe the NFL is diving into the Bad Bunny because he's uber popular. Now, that I'm a pro wrestling fan, and my first introduction to Bad Bunny was through the WWE, and he ended up wrestling in a couple of matches over a span of a couple of years. Like they kind of spread him out. They bring him in
Mm-hmm.
for certain situations, like
Mm-hmm.
WWE had a big event coming up in Puerto Rico, which is where he lives, right, and
Right.
resides. There's
Mm-hmm.
some Puerto Rican wrestlers in the WWE, and they kind of tied all that together for that big event. It's an awesome event. I mean, you got to go back and watch it one day. We'll watch it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But anyway, the reason why he was brought in is because he has a huge following. All those followers will then watch WWE, and that's kind of like what NFL is doing here with Bad Bunny. And he did a good job in the ring. So
Mm-hmm.
good that they say he's the best celebrity wrestler of all time right now.
Okay, but
He,
here's the other thing, though,
mm-hmm,
that has got a lot of people, up in the air, and that is that the halftime show is supposedly going to be in Spanish entirely, is what the NFL has reported
mm-hmm,
now, and there are thousands upon thousands of fans who are not happy with this, and because they're saying, why is NFL doing this? Why are they bringing this guy in? And I don't know much about him. I mean, I've asked about, to see what I could find out, and I read up on him, but
yeah, he's popular.
yeah, he's very popular according to what I'm hearing. I mean, he's ranking right up there with Taylor Swift in terms
Mm-hmm,
of popularity. But
right.
there are a lot of NFL fans, to include, even those who might even have teams in the Super Bowl this year who don't approve of this decision. And there are many players right now, prolific players in the NFL, quarterbacks and others who say that, no, we don't want this guy. Okay. But the NFL is not backing down. Roger Goodell said, no, we made this decision. It was a good business decision, and we're sticking with Bad Bunny. There are a lot of people that want Taylor Swift. And of course, a certain team in the Midwest, whose names I won't mention, but, I think their initials are KC. They probably would love to see Taylor Swift, do the halftime.
They see her about every week, don't they?
And the Swifties, yeah, every play, as long as a certain person is a part of the play. Yeah, but there are a lot of people who said, no, this Bad Bunny thing is a bad idea.
But why is it a bad idea? I'm just curious as that. What is going on with that part of it?
Well, apparently they see him as a controversial figure.
Okay.
One who may not appeal to, the younger crowd, even younger people, because he's rumored to have certain, I don't want to accuse him of being a weirdo, but they seem to think that he has some weird tendencies.
Okay.
That don't lend themselves to wholesome entertainment. Now, I don't know. I've never seen the fella. I may be, misjudging, but I honestly think, number one, to do the whole show in Spanish, it's kind of it's a put down to the English-speaking viewers and those who will interpret what's being said. You can't understand it if you don't understand the Spanish.
Why would the NFL allow that? That's crazy.
I don't know. I don't know why the NFL made this decision. Maybe they want to be provocative. Maybe they want to say, they're just trying to be all inclusive. Maybe next year we'll have a show, that's in Chinese or something. I don't know. But the NFL is looking to go global, I believe, and I think this is a part of their strategic plan to put forth some type of global operation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they definitely trying to do that, because if you watch all these 9 o'clock a.m. games that they've had for like 6 straight weeks, you know what's coming. The NFL eventually is going to have a team, or two that are from, that are based in other countries, right? Because they have games overseas every week for the last 6 weeks, and they're just getting everybody used to having football in American. I'm gonna say stateside football, because there's all kind of Americas, right? North America, South America, Central America,
right.
But there is that push, so I can see where they're trying to throw him in. But what I don't understand is if he, it's one thing to have him on, but another thing to sign off if they go through with that, to have it in an entire different language from the native language of the normal sports fan base of the NFL.
Well, I understand that there's some alternative programming that's going to occur on that day. I mean, all this is just in discussion right now.
Okay.
At a discussion level. There are other groups that are saying, hey, we're going to come up with something that's an alternative to the halftime show. You could flip to another network and get that entertainment and skip this guy, and then get back.
A lot of us do that anyway.
Well, a lot of people do that. Yeah, they do. Unless it was like Michael Jackson or
right.
back in the day and Whitney Houston and those kind of people, I think, I don't know why they couldn't even share the stage with Taylor on this one. I think, Taylor has a big following. All those Swifties out there, I mean, they would just pack the house with Swifties.
Well, her day is coming. I mean, she should have a show maybe next year when she has her show, or the year after. But I mean, I can't see the NFL not taking advantage of having Taylor Swift do a halftime show at some point. I mean, she's got to be on the short list for that. And again, I don't really watch neither one of them. And again, that's why I told you about my Bad Bunny experience. That's all I have on Bad Bunny was through WWE, not all the other stuff. So I just the same thing that I just said there is why they
Mhm.
utilize him in WWE was because he has a huge following and that brings
Mhm.
another fan base to watch the sport of professional wrestling. But that's all I gather from him myself. I'm not going
Yeah,
to keep
well,
up
I'm
with
going to
him.
continue to monitor the situation. I mean,
Okay.
I'm at this point just wondering why the NFL, knowing that they're getting a lot of blowback right now on this,
Yeah.
are standing their ground on it. I just don't quite understand. I mean, but I
Well,
know it's all business, and it's
that
not for me to decide. But
that's what it is.
I do have my opinion,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
many others have their opinion too. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
and
move
we
on,
should.
Mister 411. I'm going to move on to another topic,
Sure.
and let's talk about the mayoral race in New York right now, in New York City.
Yeah. All
Uh,
right.
oh man, this is a very hotly contested race, and it's a hot issue. I mean, we're in the fall of the year, boy, but the temperatures are still high, and I can tell you right now that the people of New York, they have got a very critical decision to make as to who's going to be their next mayor. And as you look on our screen, we have the three candidates here: Zoran Mondani and Mr. Cuomo. Um, I think his first name is Andrew. Yes, Andrew Cuomo,
Okay.
and Curtis Sliwa. His name is a little strange, but Sliwa. But I am of the opinion that New Yorkers are now sort of gravitating toward Mondani. Of course, that's what the polls are saying. So, do you know much about Mr. Mondani, or what have you heard about him?
Oh, I don't know too much. Well, I'll say this. The one thing I believe I heard about him is the sports tie into it, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
And he's utilizing a logo,
right.
right? So that's the most I know about him is that he was utilizing a logo that looks similar to the New York Knickerbockers as part
Right.
of his
Hmm.
campaign trail
Hmm.
and campaign. And the Knicks have they kind of struck back at him about that and saying, hey, no, don't use our likeness for
Hmm.
for your candidacy. So that's what I've gathered from that. I'm sure you're gonna
Well,
let us know more.
yeah, well, Mr. Mandami considers himself to be a Democrat socialist, with whatever that is, some type of hybrid between being a Democrat and being a socialist. But he is a far left zealot, very far left. I mean, this guy wants to, open the prisons. He wants to keep cashless bail. He wants to legalize prostitution. He wants free groceries, not free grocery stores, but free bus transportation and subway transportation. He wants city run grocery stores. I mean, everything that's the socialist dream is what he's after. Okay. This is what he's after. Oh, yeah. I see that. Yeah, there it is. The New York Knickerbockers logo. He was using it, and they said, no, take it down because they have not endorsed him. But he's pulling every trick in the book to try to draw in the voters. And he's also promising people things that it's going to be tough to deliver on. A lot of people like to hear free, but somebody's got to pay for it. And the taxpayers are going to end up paying for it. At a rally they had just the other day, let's see, in attendance was the governor of the state. Oh, well, this picture here is where he's meeting with some co-conspirators from the 9/11 attack on the World Trade Center. So, I mean, that picture right there says volumes about who this guy really is. And in a rally the other day, they were yelling and chanting, "Tax the rich, tax the rich." And the governor of the state of New York was at that rally.
Hmm.
Uh, Bernie Sanders was at that rally. Uh, what's her name? AOC. was at that rally, and they're supporting this guy. And he was just recently endorsed by the minority leader in the House. So, Hakeem Jeffries. Well, I think New York is probably headed down the road of socialism if this guy gets in. Now, that's my point of view on it. And frankly, if you want to know the truth, I hope he doesn't win. I hope he does not win. I see New York going down the tubes. And Andrew Cuomo, the former governor, the gentleman in the middle of the picture, he had some issues in the past with some scandals, and he also resigned his position as governor. That's where Kathy Hochul, the current sitting governor of New York, that's how she got into the governorship. And he also was accused of putting a lot of aged and elderly COVID patients into a nursing home where many of them died. Thousands of them died. So he kind of has that millstone around his neck. But now, as far as experience in government and running things, he has a lot of experience, as opposed to Mandani, who has zero experience in running anything. Okay, now he runs his mouth pretty well, but he's never run a business. He's never been a prolific leader in government. So it's really kind of a scary situation. Now, lastly, we have Mr. Curtis Sliwa, who is one of the founding, or is the founding member of the Guardian Angels. And he was born in New York, and he lived his whole life there in New York. He was pretty much the modern day Robin Hood there in New York, and the protector of the weak and the innocent. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he's been beat up a few times defending people. He's been shot at, even probably has been shot a few times. But Mr. Sliwa is by far, in my opinion, the guy who should be the next mayor of New York. And he has my endorsement. And I certainly hope that when they go to the polls to vote, that the New Yorkers will come to their senses and realize that socialism is not the way to go. Not in the largest city in the United States, which is, it's the mecca for capitalism, so to speak, if I could use that word, mecca. But it's the hub for capitalism. And we don't need a socialist trying to run that city, and particularly an inexperienced individual such as Mandani. Now, that's kind of where things stand in that. And if you take a look, he's really telling the New Yorkers that if they don't vote for him, that they're Islamophobic. Islamophobic is the term that he's using. And that's really kind of a slap in the face, considering the fact that he's talking to people who live in a city where one of the worst attacks has occurred in this country, terrorist attack, when those Trade Center buildings came crumbling down. So they have a decision to make here, and it's a very critical one. So now, if you were voting Mr. 411 in the city of New York, knowing what you just heard from me, what would be your perspective on that?
No, well, I definitely wouldn't vote for the first candidate. I would lean direction that you're talking about now. If I was there, but
yeah,
I'm not one of those millions of people that's up there, but I'm going to keep a close eye on it and see how it turns out.
Well, I certainly hope it doesn't turn out the way it's looking right now, because this guy, Mandami, is really, way far left of center. And Andrew Cuomo, I would say more as a moderate kind of guy right now, although he has left-wing tendencies. But Curtis Sliwa, in my opinion, he is the guy that I think should be the next mayor. And he loves his city, and he's defended that city all his life. And I think he deserves to be voted in as the next mayor. That's just my opinion. Um, let's take a look at another topic too, Mr. 411, because there are two other races that are going on that are hotly contested. This one over in New Jersey, right across from New York here, the governor's race. And from what I understand, this race has heated up and that is tightening up. That Mr. Chiantarelli and his opponent, I think her name is Shirelli or something like that. No, Cheryl. Yeah, Cheryl. She is the Democrat candidate. And of course, Mr. Chiantarelli is the Republican candidate in this race. And as things stands right now, it's a very tight race. And Mr. Cantarelli, in my opinion, of course, should win this race. He lost to the sitting Governor Murphy in the last race election by a mere 84,000 votes. So I think New Jersey right now is looking for a refreshing change, and they're only going to get it if they can put this Republican in office. And now in Virginia, if you will go with me there, this race here is tightening up too. Winsome Earl Sayers, the sitting lieutenant governor of the state of of Virginia, right now is in a tight race with Abigail Spanberger. And right now, Spanberger has a slight lead on her, but I think that she's catching up. And one would hope that she would win this race and continue the work that Governor Glenn Youngkin has started. And that is to keep Virginia a free state, a safe state, and a state that abides by constitutional law. So that's another race that people are eyeballing. So we want to keep a watch on that one as well. Now let's move to another topic, Mr. 411, and I'd like to talk about our president's crackdown on crime. Okay, here we see President Trump, who was almost a victim of a very, very serious situation here in crime where he was shot at. But of course, he's fighting it now. He's coming back. He's a fighter. And he said, fight, fight, fight. And so now he's not fighting the American people. He's fighting crime in this country, in every neighborhood and across the nation. But if we take a look at the National Guard, is being sent to a lot of these different inner cities, right? Now, you got a lot of these governors and a lot of these mayors who are saying, we don't want the National Guard. Don't send the National Guard here. We don't need them. Well, according to what we have seen and what we have observed, they do need them. And what the president has done, he's using the Insurrection Act of 1807 to authorize calling up the National Guard, which in 1807 they were called the militia. But now, of course, in modern day times, we call them the National Guard. And when there is a national crisis, such as what we're seeing in this country with crime, with the influx of international transactional drug gangs and cartels, I mean, they're everywhere. But let's take a look at what's happening with inside the cities. I mean, they're saying, well, we don't need the National Guard, but the local police and law enforcement, I think their hands are being tied by their local leaders. And they do need them because, I mean, just take a look at here. Look at this. These people have overpowered local law enforcement because local law enforcement aren't allowed to do the jobs. And this is insurrection. If there was ever insurrection, this is what it looks like. And the president is well within his authority to send the National Guard in to bring this to an end or to minimize, the attacks that these law enforcement people are enduring. And many people are trying to say, oh, no, President Trump is wrong for doing this. No, he's well within his right and authority because it is domestic violence. And a lot of this domestic violence, in my opinion, is a distraction from more attacks that are coming across our border from drug cartels and from other countries that are identified as terrorist organizations. And many of them are being supported internally by certain subversive groups in our country, like Antifa and some of these NGOs. And then, of course, too, we wonder to ourselves, what are the Democrats doing to stop this? It doesn't seem to me that they're doing much to stop it. It seems like they are promoting and supporting it to a great degree. But I want to take a look at our Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Now, she's the top cop in the nation, okay? And I applaud her for her efforts and her work up to this point. Here recently, Mr. 411, there's been a bounty put on her head, all because she's trying to keep the country safe and doing her job and carrying out the president's mandate to get crime under control in this country and maybe to even eradicate it. So we have safer streets, safer communities. Um, in a staff meeting that they had recently, uh, President Trump, it was a cabinet meeting. I call it a staff meeting, but it was a departmental meeting that he had, and the DOJ under Pam Bondi has been removing the poison from our streets at historic levels, and we're talking drugs that are being brought in by cartels. 44 million fentanyl pills, over 4,500 pounds of fentanyl powder, over 64,000 pounds of methamphetamines, and they have seized over 541,000 pounds of cocaine. Now, I must tell you, that's a lot of drugs, folks. That's a lot of drugs. That could kill a lot of people. And it could really cause our country to actually just meet a demise, because we will be losing people to drugs, 300,000 a year, maybe, or more. And it's a problem. And since they've taken office, the Trump administration has been going after these drug cartels, because actually behind it all, that's what's fueling all this crime in our country. Billions and billions of drug business crossing our borders and leaving in our country, exchanging hands between dealers and drug cartels. And these drug cartels are building armies. They have military grade weaponry, and they're ready to do battle. But President Trump is ready to go after them with the full force of our Department of War, our DOJ, our FBI, our Custom and Immigration and Custom Enforcement, and local and state law enforcement. So I applaud them for what they're doing. We got to clean this up, or otherwise our nation is going to die a slow death. Speaking of dying a slow death, Mr. 411, this shutdown is still ongoing. Okay, Ms. 411, yeah, we pointed out some of the points in there, but let's take a look at our government shutdown. Oh, keep that, Mr. 411, I'm sorry, but that's okay. Yeah, okay. If we were to look at this, you can see on this map, thank you for putting that up, you can see where there is cartel activity by specific cartels in this country. And this is just, a tip of the iceberg when it comes down to the expansion of transactional cartel activity in America. Now, they're everywhere. They're in every state. And they're now moving into every community. They just had a big bust in Philadelphia the other day where just millions upon millions of dollars were confiscated and tons of drugs, particularly fentanyl, which is very deadly. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's all about. International terror organizations and Antifa and the cartels have been designated by our president as a terrorist organization or terrorist organizations, and that he is definitely committed to eradicating them. So now we're going to go to the government shutdown for a brief moment here. Now, the government shutdown has been going on now for well over 28 days, I guess, somewhere in that number. About 28 days. I think it might end up being the longest in history if this continues. Um, and the reason for this shutdown is that the Democrats, they want what they want. And if they can't get what they want, then they'll make everybody else suffer. And right now, the question is, what do they want? Well, they want to extend what they call the Affordable Care Act or the Obamacare subsidies. Well, they also want to reverse the certain cuts on Medicare. Now, those cuts on Medicare were put there to make sure that only people who are eligible recipients are getting Medicare. But we have a lot of people on Medicare that don't need to be on Medicare and shouldn't be on Medicare. And we also have illegals that are getting medical treatment and are getting medical coverage on U.S. taxpayer dollars. And so to keep these things going, the Democrats are saying, we'll pass this continuing resolution if you give us $1.5 trillion. So, in essence, they're extorting, the Republicans just to pass a continuing resolution, just to get what they want. And they have passed these CRs so many, many times in the past. But this time around, because it's the Trump administration, they just want to throw a roadblock in it. They want to try to use it as political leverage. And lastly, they're trying to take care of their illegal immigrant population using American tax dollars. Now, I don't see where it's going to end or how it's going to end unless these guys, and I'm going to call them for what they are, they're demo brats, is what they are. Like they can't get what they want, so hey, we're not going to play. But they're playing with the lives of the American people. Our armed forces deserve to get paid. We deserve to have safe skies. I mean, our air traffic controllers are not being paid. But guess who is getting paid? All those Democrats, their checks going to their bank accounts. But members of the U.S. Civil Service and government service workers and many of the staffers on the Hill are not getting paid. And pretty soon, those people that are on food stamps aren't going to get them. They're not going to get their food stamps in a few days. And the Democrats think this is a victory for them. They'd rather see people go without food just to prove their little point and get what they want. And then they want to say, oh, it was the Republicans who did that. No, we only need 5 Democrats. 5 to pass this continuing resolution, but they are towing the line because in the Democrat Party, if you go against the establishment of the Democrat Party, particularly now that there are far left progressives and socialists then you will be ostracized, scandalized, criticized, even brutalized. Your political career is over. So they toe the line. They lockstep. Mostly, I would think many of them out of fear because they're afraid of their own party. They're afraid to be individuals who would speak up for themselves and for their constituents. So that's not the Democrat Party of old. And frankly, they need to change their name because they're no longer the Democrat Party. There's something of a breed that I can't even imagine how we got here with that and how they got there. So, this man right here, Mr. Chuck Schumer, who is the the Senate minority leader, sorry, he's the Senate minority leader, is afraid of his own party. People like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and all these other people on the left, Bernie Sanders and some of these other folks, they have got him right where they want him. He's afraid to go up against them because he's afraid that they're going to primary him and his political career be over. So rather than do what is right, and that is keep this government open, and now that it's shut down, reopen this government, Schumer, reopen the government. Besides, the government is by, for, and of the people, not of the Democrat Party. It's our money, not yours. And this gentleman here, this last, still, Mr. 411, if you would bring this up. This gentleman right here is the president of the U.S. Government Workers Union. And here recently, he came out and said that they need to open the government. And he's not pointing fingers, but I understand in his commentary, and I heard him speak, he's really pointing fingers at the Democrats. He won't say it, but that's what, it's subliminally is what he was, the group he was speaking to. Democrats need to open this government. People are suffering. Folks have bills to pay, just like they do, but they're getting paid. But a lot of the government service workers aren't getting paid, and that's not fair. And the Democrat Party needs to take a look in the mirror, and they need to realize that they're not treating the American people fairly, justly, and their loyalty is to a party and not to the people. So I would encourage the Democrats to get up and get the job done now. It's been a long week, Mr. 411. And what I'd like to do in closing is I'd like to talk about our president for a minute. And I'm so proud of the work that President Trump has done since he came back into office in about 10 months. This man has achieved so much since he's returned, more than any other president in modern history or in history, as far as I know. But he's a great president. He's a great man. He's a hardworking man. This guy does not stop. He does not, I doubt if he even sleeps. But I can tell you this, he loves this country. And he's doing everything in his power to make sure that America is first. And he puts America first. Now, if you were to go to a site, ladies and gentlemen, I want to direct you to a site, the White House government site. You would find in there many of the things that President Trump has done thus far during his tenure, his second tenure as president of the United States. And the list is phenomenal. he has accomplished so much on behalf of the American people. And right now he's gone abroad because he's looking out for our interests in foreign as well as, domestic issues and concerns. And I just want to give a big shout out to President Trump tonight. And I want to say to him, Mr. 411, can you give me my president? Mr. 411, I need my president. There he is saying, fight, fight. And he's not talking about fighting the American people. He's talking about fighting for your constitutional rights, your liberty, your pursuit of happiness, and having safe communities, and fighting for your individual ability to achieve greatness in this country. Because America is a great country. There's no other country on the face of the earth like America. And in closing, I salute you, President Trump. And Mr. 411, as I leave out of here tonight, I trust that you have a great week. And I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. And in closing, I salute you. And Mr. 411, do you have a final official shot?
Well, I'd just like to, say thanks for everybody who's tuning in for the Freedom Warrior show, and support the Freedom Warrior. Continue to do that. Continue to support our network. We definitely appreciate that. Make sure you do all the wonderful things that we ask you to do that doesn't cost a dime. Like, hit the like button, subscribe to the page. And there is a Freedom Warrior playlist within the page. So you better check out all the action, all the Freedom Warriors videos and shorts and everything in there. So make sure you do all those things for us. And I'd like to thank the Freedom Warrior for supporting the 411 Sports World Network.
Oh yeah, we love 411 Sports World, man. Yeah. That's where it's at. We love it.
Yeah, we appreciate that a lot.
As President Trump said, I like it a lot.
Well, yeah. Hey, we take all the support that we can get, and we definitely appreciate it. It just helps the network grow, and that's what we're doing here. And bringing information, like take information that's coming in, and it can't do anything but help, because there's a lot of things that are said on this show and other shows that we like to reach out to the people, and that's why Freedom Warrior is doing what he's doing here.
Exactly. And of course, as we also know too, and we saw tonight, that there is a lot of intersection between what happens in politics and what happens in sports, and we're just proud to be a part of the Sports World Network. And this is Freedom Warrior saying to you, good night and have a great week.